Hey guys, it's Jonna, the preppy crafty girl, and I have been doing some playing today. One thing is I ordered the new Cathe Holden Flea Market Finds Miscellany Words stamp, and I really wanted to play with this today, and I had about 15 minutes during the day, so I just went for it. And then I also um, packed up my die cut machine and I was going through my file cabinets and I found a bunch of jelly paper that was, yeah, not very pretty. But then when I figured when I cut it down into something like these little envelopes, look how cute. Then it actually doesn't look, they don't look bad. So they're actually kind of fun. And I have like that one. So I have envelopes. I have some, and I did book paper. I did some other envelopes I cut up. So I have like tickets, and then I have all kinds of file folders. I just use some book paper and then jelly paper, jelly print paper. I mean, I never would have used that jelly print paper because I thought because I thought, these were really hideous. And so I saved them more for collage. But then when I was packing up my die cut machine, I was like, shoot, I need to cut some stuff before this goes into storage. So I made all kinds of little envelopes and things like that. And then here's some more envelopes. And then I die cut some stuff for the traveler's notebook that I'm doing. So I did book paper and my jelly plate. But look how cute that is. It's a little sand dollar, but it looks cute when it's printed out. I mean, cut out of the that's jelly paper, which normally would look really hideous, but it looks, well, it looks hideous on that side, but it doesn't look bad when you actually die cut them into something. So don't throw out your jelly plate papers that you may not like. You don't even have to print over them. Just cut them out. And then the scraps that I had, I ended up cutting out hearts because I had that 2 size old Sizzix heart one. So I cut some hearts out and look how pretty. So these actually had the gold on them. And so that'll go into some things. I die cut some. I didn't have a lot of die cuts. Because I had started packing them, so I only had a few. I had the feathers, but it looks really cool when it's jelly plate on cut out on jelly print and then jelly plate print. Say that 10 times fast. And then I did some book paper, and this is, yeah, just stuff done on the jelly plate. So I think for me, I found the ones that did really well were the ones that were double-sided. So because you could use them either way then, or you could pick out the side you like better. Like that has a little too much white, but I think if I just did like a background stamp over it, that would look kind of cool. So I did that. And then I ended up doing a stack of, remember I bought all those file folders at the thrift store the other day. So I started cutting them down. I've got a lot more to go. And then I did a couple out of matte paper, which I don't know how much I'll use the matte paper. So I just had scrap. So I did 2 of those. Then I did alphabets. Oh my gosh, I cut out tons of alphabets using my jelly plate paper. Just, the ones that I had that I was going to toss. And then I did some book paper, and there's ledger paper, and this was black jelly plate paper. I did black on the background, and then I never plated over it. And then this is just some scraps from the other ones, like cream and gray, and I think olive green and navy blue was in that one. And then look how pretty this one turned out. This had gold in it. So I don't know if you can see. And then, so this was like, it was like a sagey kind of green, and then black, and then gold. Those came out really super pretty. These were copper and like a teal. And then this was, I put too much teal on the plate, but when you cut it out, so I didn't use the paper, but when I cut it out, look how pretty. And it's like, it was a metallic teal, so it came out super pretty. Yeah, and then these are just matte. So this was like a scrap of matte paper that I used. So that's that. And so I did that today. And I got a few minutes. And some other things I did was using her stamps. I ended up, you know, I love the Tim Holtz chipboard words, but they're a little thick for me. So what I ended up doing was I had an album, like a record album, and I wanted to keep the front of it, but not necessarily the back of it because, you know, I only wanted the front for inspiration. So when I cut it down, I had the back. So what I did was I took some, and I'll show you, I took some photo paper and I stuck it to some thin chipboard, so a lightweight chipboard. So I took the photo paper and put it on some lightweight chipboard. Then what I did, and this is what I suggest, is finding the stamps, find a stamp and go all the way across, because I found it easier, and then I could use my guillotine cutter and it makes a nice cut instead of using a rototrim. But I mean, a rotary trim or even something like a Fiskars would be fine. So what I did was, let me get a block. And I also tested out different, ink. So I tested out Memento, Archival, and VersaFine. And what I found out was the VersaFine came out super, super sharp in color. This was the, because I was afraid if once I put the glossy accents on that it was going to smudge. So I went ahead and did Archival first, but I wasn't really happy with it because it kind of came out kind of gray. I don't know if you can see that. Oh my gosh, my hands are so dry. Don't even look at them. Yeah, but then when I did the other one, when I did the VersaFine, that came out like this. And let me see if I don't really have one with the other, with the Memento. But anyway, so these two are not my favorites, but they worked. But my favorite was the VersaFine. It comes out super, super crisp and extremely dark, which looks awesome. So what I did was I lined up one of the lines. Actually, well, shoot, I need to take this off, because what I want to do is you want to line up one of the lines with the top of the paper, and that's going to help you cut. So let's see. Okay. So once I get that lined up, then I'm going to line the stamp up, a line up there. And then you're going to stamp it. And I waited a little too long, it started to dry. I tend to turn my stamp around because sometimes on the ink pad, it will, the ink pad dries out in certain spots or aren't as juicy in certain spots. See how bright that is? So nice. Okay, then I'll do one more. All right, and let me clean this. I'm just using a baby wipe, and I'll go back in with some stamp cleaner. I go back in with stamp cleaner afterward. Because I found if you use this on a lighter color, it'll mess up the color of the lighter color. So you have to definitely make sure that, I know a lot of people don't clean their stamps, but you definitely want to, because it will change the color of the lighter ink. Okay. All right, so basically you get it. So you just go across, cross, cross till you fill the whole page up. Then once it's done, then all you have to do is take your cutter and just cut the lines around them. Does that make sense? And you will get this. So originally I did this, and then I had to go and cut each one out separately because I was not thinking. So you'll get this once they're cut out. All right. But what you want to do is go all the way across with the same stamp and try to get them as even as you can. Okay. Then what you do, so once you cut them out, you're going to have these. And all I did was from there, and also a little trick, when you go to do your chipboard, put on, I used matte medium, and then I took my paintbrush, went all the way across, and then I took my brayer and I rolled it down really good so there's no bubbles. Oops. Oops. And then you want to wait until the chipboard's dry. So I would wait maybe 3 or 4 hours, let it get good and dry, and it's nice and hard, and then it works out perfectly when you go to cut it. Now I did mine using some kind of non-stick mat, because you're going to end up using, I'll show you why my fingers are so dry, because I did this. So what you're going to end up doing is put some on your chipboard piece, and then I took my finger and I just went across. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that the ink is good and dry, because you could see my ink wasn't dry yet, and I actually just smudged it with my finger. And you want to tilt it so you can see where it's maybe thicker than one side, and you want it nice and even. And I like using my finger over using a brush only because I won't have the brush marks, but it's self-settling. Now, the reason why I do it that way, and I don't just pour it on and let it settle on, which if you want to, that's fine, but it's super thick and I think it changes the color. So I found the thinner I put it on, it didn't change, it didn't change the color of the white. I think that the glossy accents kind of turned it a little yellow. When I put it on, let it self level down. That's just a little tip from me to you. Do with it what you want. So again, I just go in the center. I put like this much on. I don't know if you can see that, but can you see? I don't know. Just kind of down the center. Then I take my finger again, and I'm just gonna go over the whole thing. Now I have generous amount on here. I have a generous amount because I don't want any dry spots. I want it to be glossy all the way. So yeah. And I would use a non-stick mat, because sometimes if you have run over, it'll stick to the mat, and then all you can do is just trim it off. So, and that's that one. Pretty easy. And then you'll have your own using her fonts. I love the Tim Holtz ones, but yeah, I wanted different fonts. So now using her fonts, you can get the chipboard pieces, just like the ones that Tim makes, except you're using her fonts, or you could use whatever font you have. It doesn't matter. Okay. Next, I made a bunch of little fabric swatchy thingies. And all I had was, I had a piece of flour sack. It was an old pillowcase, or I think it was flowers. It felt like flour sack, but you know that really old cotton? Very nice. And what I did was I cut strips like this. And this is going to be like mass making these. So cut a long strip about 1 inch wide, or however tall your stamps are. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're just going to stamp, 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 stamp like that. And you're going to leave some space in between because you're going to cut them. And you want to leave some space at the top and the bottom because we're going to stitch it after you stamp it. So get it stamped. And then this is what you'll end up getting. So I used archival ink on this. On this one, I used the Distress Oxide, but I know that I'm not going to be able to use this with anything wet because it will run. But I didn't have any brown archival ink, so I just opted for that. And then, but anyway, and this was the black archival. For some reason, it's stamped yellow. I mean, not yellow, gray, which I love because I love gray. So, and then this is robin egg. So I don't know if you can see that. It's very light, very light. And then this one is the Kitsch Flamingo. That one. And then I'm going to show you, this is what happens when you don't clean your stamps really well. It turns this like purpley pink. So this is the original color of Kitsch Flamingo, where it says original, and then that it's kind of this purpley color when you don't clean your stamp. So that's why I was stressing that it was important. So I did those, and I can show you how I did it. So let's take some, I'll try VersaFine this time and just see how that goes. And even if you have get two stamps that are kind of the same size. That's what I would do, and put them on your block. And then you can stamp 2 words at one time. We are mass making, people, and if you have a longer block, you could do even more of them. So see how I left a space there because I'm going to want to cut. Actually, I think I'm going to leave even a little bit more of a space. Okay. Then I'm going to ink up my stamps. And I'm going to go in on the fabric and in the middle, and I'm going to just stamp them. And I just kind of hold it there for a bit because it is fabric, so let it soak in, and you get that. Pretty awesome, huh? Then you'll have little fabric things to sew on. And then, oh, oops, and then I'm going to do it again. Then you want to move it over and stamp again. If you don't cut it apart and you just want to leave it long until you decide, because you could even do this on like a wrap around your journal, it'd be so pretty. Okay, so let's clean these off and get some other words. But I just love the variation of the fonts. I'm gonna have to come back in with a little brush, I think, on these. Some little kind of brush. Okay, and then let's do what I did on that one. I did mercantile and miscellany. And so this one is provisions. I can really only get that one across there, huh? Let me see. I might be able to have a shorter one. What's this one? Original? Nope. Wait, do I have a little longer? Oh, I do. Okay. I'm gonna do journal original, and the souvenir. Souvenir and okay, wait. Vision, because you gotta leave that space in between so you can cut them. You don't have to have a space at the end, but you definitely have to have the space in between. Okay. So those are lined up. Oh, this one's a little crooked. That's the nice thing about having, although with a clear block, if I had a cutting mat that had grids on it, I could line it up better. But I don't have one of those. It's packed. Okay. Uh-oh. I don't know when one. Oops, sorry. I apologize. Oh my gosh. I don't know what just happened. I mean, I got a phone call, but okay, wait. And then okay. Let it sit for a second, soak into the fabric, and there we go. Okay, let's do one more. And then move it over, stamp it down. Oops, I forgot because we're wet. Pull it off. And then that little 7, this number 7 that I had is from a different stamp set. It was from that beach one that I was using from Pink Paisley. Had beauty, had little, because I'm working on those beach albums, so I had an anchor and a starfish. So I just chose like the smaller ones to do. That was from a Pink Paisley set, not Cathe's. Okay. So that is that. And these are non-alcohol baby wipes, just saying. And I will go back in and wash them better with some actual stamp cleaner I have. Okay. So there you have your long strip. And then what you're going to do is get out your sewing machine if you have one. If you don't, you could slow stitch. That would be super cool. But I'm going to grab out my sewing machine. And I don't know if you guys are even going to be able to see this. No. And I have no way of doing this. Okay, that's starting to dry. I'm going to set them over there. I know I'm going to end up hitting them. I've got my Cricut mat over there. And then all I'm going to do is, and I'm going to show you how you can join the two together. So you can do one big long strip all at one time without stopping. And I have mine set at like 2.5, and then for the length, and then 1.5 for the width. But I think I could probably go a little bit wider on this one. Yeah. So all I'm doing is I'm stitching on either side of the word all the way down. Just enjoy the sound of the sewing machine. Then I'm going to take the next one, and all I'm going to do is keep it going. I'm siding it right up next to the other one. And I'm going to show you in a minute what that looks like. So see how I just kept stitch going right onto the next one. I didn't lift up the presser foot. I just put it up, bumped it up next to it. If you want to take a little then I'm going to do the end of this one just because here. I'm going to go around the corner on that end. Okay, and then I'm just starting back on the next side. And you just do the same thing. You just run it all the way down. Then when I get to that end, I'm just going to run it right into the next one. Just like that. See how they're attached? If you have a crafting friend, these would be fun to do. You could wrap it around a bobbin or an old spool of thread. And oops, give it to your friend that crafts. Okay. Then let me move this. And you can see how I've got that, and then I've got that. Then what I do is I just go in and I cut. But like I said, you don't have to. You could just wind it around something. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut them because you may want to run it down the side of a page or make a belly band or, you know, something like that. You may want it long, but right now I'm not going to go for the long end. I'm just going to leave that at the end of that. Now, if you want to go back in and stitch each one, hey, go for it. On the ends, I did not, and I'm totally okay with that because I'll probably just staple it in, or I may stitch it into something with a straight stitch. But see how fast that is? A couple of minutes, and you've got all these great little fabric tags, word tags, all good to go. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to hop off. Hope you enjoyed the little tutorial. And I hope that you make some for yourself. If you do, give me a hashtag for the Preppy Crafty Girl. Sorry. The Preppy Crafty Girl, or you can hashtag TPCG on Instagram, and I will find you. If you end up liking any of what I did tonight, give me a thumbs up. And of course, you could always leave me a comment. And that's kind of that's all I had planned tonight. So I did do, let's see, I did do one of these photos. Remember I told you I was going to do a photo on a transfer. So I did start that. It's not dry yet. I can feel it still. I'm going to wait till overnight. But I did it with some matte collage medium. So I'm going to see how that works. I've used the thick kind, but I've never used the thin kind. So I'm just so tempted to just see if anything came off. It looks like it did come off on there, so we'll see. If not, well, then I'll just stamp over it and tear it up and use it for these things. Okay. I will see you guys again. See you later. Bye.